Hi, I'm Nan Simonson, and this is week number 11 of a series of, um, I'll just say, videos sharing I'm calling them PowerPoints, and they are the points of interest as it relates to lifestyle as medicine. So I've taken you, those of us who have experienced this, through the acronym that is the second word of the title of my book, Aging Powerfully. It's an acronym with 10 lifestyle modalities that can help us find vibrant health, balance, and joy. I'm now 72. I'll be 73 in about 5 months, and I feel better, stronger, happier, healthier than maybe I ever have. And every year is better than that. I wrote this book almost 3 years ago. It'll be 3 years at the end of this year, just before I turned 70. So today, week number 11 is a compilation because we just finished week number 1 through 10. Each of the letters, which were a different lifestyle modality, and explained how to make those work. They're all on my YouTube channel, Nan Simonson, YouTube, Nan Simonson. I'm going to put that together in I was going to say an understandable way by personalizing them. In other words, if you said, okay, first of all, what are they? I'll go through it. And then you said, but how do I apply that? I'm going to tell you how I do. And I want you, if you would, to maybe jot down how you do, what amount of this you do, what does it look like in your life? And I have a group of you in the background because this is a live Zoom. I begin with this training segment that is then recorded and posted. But when we're finished, the group of us have a chance to talk, and we share our experiences and can discuss these things. Well, I would ask you, how does it look in your life for, again, these 10? What is P? It's purpose. I was listening to a conversation that Chef AJ had a day or two ago. It's posted on Chef AJ's channel on YouTube, Chef AJ Live, and it's with Dr. Gladys McGeary, who is 102. At the end of November, she'll be 103. She's as sharp as a tack. She's a physician. Her husband was a physician. Her parents were physicians, but she's a woman as a physician going through physician's college. And oh, there's so much that a woman would have to deal with that a man wouldn't, because everyone expected physicians to be men. She interviewed her, and she, even at this age, when somebody says, how do I find direction? The thing she focuses on is purpose. You have to have purpose. When I was about to turn 70, I looked at 70 as the beginning of the end at first, because there's no question but that 70 is what most people call old age. If somebody hears that somebody at 70 died or had a heart attack, well, of course, they're old. Now, I don't believe that anymore. I'm 3 years into that. That's no. Even at 80, I'm seeing that differently. Even at 90, I'm seeing that differently, because as I came up to 70, it was either going to be that, uh-oh, here goes the beginning of the end, or heck no. I have 1, 2, or 3 decades more to go if I'm going to believe the blue zones, for example, and the tenets of the way I eat in such a way that what I put in my body is the best food for my body. I'm giving myself the best chance to go on for years, and I'll talk about that just rather quickly. So, number 1, purpose. That's where my purpose came in, because I wrote Aging Powerfully as a way to get off of my chest some things that were secrets, to the degree that my siblings, my best friends, and no one in my world knew that I was hiding. For example, a over 50-year eating disorder that controlled my life, but I was so secretive that nobody knew it except my husband, my late husband, who died after 40 years of marriage of lung cancer. I'm remarried, and I've been with my second husband for 11 years. And when I married him, it was still somewhat active, but he never knew about it either because I was so ashamed. But that meant a lot of secret living. I talk about that, got that off my chest. I talked about some early things that, again, nobody knew about, got that out of there. The point of the book, though, was you can go through anything. It says it right here: accept your past and take control of your future. How do you take control of your future? Dr. Gladys McGarry at 102 stresses you have to have purpose. You have to have a reason, because that reason will drive you forward. And my reason became, I have come into a new life at 70. I became whole food, plant-based, healthy, happy, joyful, because the eating disorder left me just before that. No, actually, I was able to leave it behind because now I was nourishing myself properly. And that's all in the book. I won't go into that. So if I'm getting through this acronym of 10 things quickly as they apply in my life, I'll begin by saying in the book even wrote, my mission is to spend the rest of my life helping others understand and learn how to take very good care of themselves. So my mission is to get what I know, what I see as a health coach with a lifestyle medical practice that was founded by one of the founding members and past presidents of the College of Lifestyle Medicine. So I've seen a lot. I know a lot because I've seen a lot. I've seen 5 years, almost 5 years of recoveries. And therefore, I have a burning desire through the rest of my life. What is your purpose? Number 2 is O. That stands for others, or what we call community. We are tribal. We are made to have others in our life. What do I do about that? Well, part of it now, after I wrote my book, I created a social media community because that's the only way we could get the word out in COVID times. This book came out in 2020, the end of 2020. We were deeply into COVID and we thought it was nearly over, and it just kept going. And so social media works, but I also have I have friends whose are friendships that I have nurtured for decades. And actually, I found friends on social media. In other words, Facebook. I found a cousin. No, they found us, a cousin in Italy, because my family is from Italy. My mother was first generation here in the US. My father came across through Ellis Island at 21. I found somebody that way. It's sometimes easy to let relationships go because we're busy, because it may be a little uncomfortable to get through. And sometimes people are a little annoying because we decide they're annoying because we view through our own eyes and our own perspective. I personally go out of my way to stay in touch. I'll text, I'll send little cards, I'll set up lunch dates because I don't want to lose the communication in the community that I have, because we must have people in our lives, actually, traditionally, ancestrally, those who didn't died. They couldn't make it, and our body knows that. It has a lot to do with the adrenals, etc. So that's O. What about W? W. I always thought this was the most important thing, and it really is to a degree, but oh my gosh, the more I further research, the more I realize the others hold equal sway, or at least sway. And what does W stand for? Whole food, plant-based. Why don't I just say vegan? Well, first of all, there's no V in there, but Vegan is a philosophical, and I do not eat animals because I care about their treatment and what it's doing to our planet. But quite frankly, I still have leather in this house. So I can't say I am embracing veganism, but I can say I don't eat any animal product at all. Now, that's not true. I have honey in my cupboard. So, but anyway, um, let me get back on track. But whole food plant-based says even more, because let's face it, if you know Chef AJ, and I do recommend that you pay attention to her recipes and her teaching. If you are moving toward whole food plant-based, you'll learn a lot. She was a junk food vegan, self-proclaimed, for what, 30 years, meaning eating her or drinking her Coke Slurpees every day and eating sweets, and 80 pounds overweight. So vegan can simply mean not eating animals. I'm saying whole food. That means keep the processed food, or as much of the processed food, out of your life as possible. Eat food as close to nature as possible. Why? Because your body knows. You have a thing called the microbiome, which is trillions of living organisms that eat off of one thing. Now, why do we care if they eat? Because then they have metabolites that they produce called short chain fatty acids that affect everything in our body, including our brain. So we have this microbiome that eats one thing. And what is that? Fiber. Soluble and insoluble, primarily soluble, but also insoluble. So for those of us who believed at one time that the only reason that you eat fiber is that you've got this little brush that goes through you and pushes things out, you know, your parents' Metamucil, that to a degree is true, but it's far more important to understand the microbiome. So go back to the food thing, my food video, and hear more about that. So what do I do with that? I eat whole food plant-based going on 5 years now. All of our meals are well, for example, in the morning, I have a bowl of berries into which I add chia and flaxseed, and I add a turmeric mix that I make with turmeric, cardamom, ginger, and a little bit of cinnamon. And then I have some oat groats thrown in that, a little bit of quinoa thrown in that. Put it all together with soy milk, because soy milk has 9 grams of protein per cup, and I get a pure soy milk, one with only soy and water. I happen to get this one from Trader Joe's. It's called Soy Beverage, organic if you're eating soy. So that's my, oh, I was going to say that's my mash, even though it's not mash, but I put it aside. I get all that together, put it aside, and then I exercise for an hour. I go into the sauna, the infrared sauna. That's how I start my day, infrared sauna, not every day, but most. Then I exercise either on a cycle, or this morning I went up our mountain. It's about an hour. And when I come back, it's this thick slurry because of what? The chia and the flax. That's what they do. And it's just delicious. And usually I'll have a cram muffin. Look that up. Those are Chef AJ's, and it's just some oats and carrot and apple and banana and some nuts and a little guy with some tea or a cup of coffee. Yes, I drink coffee, but it's 3/4 decaf, 1/4 caffeine, and that's about all the caffeine I can handle. So whole food plant-based. Lunch, a huge salad. Dinner, most of what we eat, it has been batch cooked. Well, you know what? Watch that and you'll get that. But in other words, whole food plant-based, that's the way I nourish my body. So everything I'm getting is feeding me at a cellular level and will keep me healthier and my skin better and all of that. E, what is the E? It's exercise, it's movement. We must move our body. And each of these has its own video week. That would be 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be week number 5. So look those up. But yes, every morning I'm out there, as I was this morning, either up the mountain or on my bike. I would have said to you 3 months ago, before I messed my knee up, I would have said running, and I ran a half marathon. That's 2 miles, 3 miles, which I did at the end of October last year. This is the month of August, the end of August. But anyway, this knee's gotten worse and worse, and the MRI said it was a torn meniscus, multiple tear, complex torn meniscus. And yet this morning I was able to go up 4 miles, almost 4 miles, 3.5 miles. And no matter what, even when the knee hurt to walk, I cycled. Every morning I took off and I cycled, even if it was only a half an hour. Why? Because the only way I can get my lymphatic system going is by moving. There's no heart for the lymphatic system. You've got to use your muscles. So walking, trotting, riding, rebounding, swimming, something you love, that's what I do. Next is R for resilience. And at our medical practice, resilience is 2 things as it relates to the pillars of lifestyle medicine. It's sleep. Get yourself 7 to 9 hours of sleep a day. If you don't, your body is suffering from a lack of sleep, and it'll affect your brain. The Sherzais, who are Dr. Dean and Aisha, who are a pair of neurologists here at Loma Linda University, will tell you that sleep is essential for brain health and to help prevent dementia and Alzheimer's. So sleep therapy, in other words, what we call sleep hygiene. The lights are all low as we get into the evening. I don't allow any bright light above me because that keeps our melatonin from rising as it will. I start my morning with daylight, because as soon as you're in daylight, your pineal gland is setting a clock that then about 12, 13, 14 hours later starts releasing melatonin. I'm not going to go into all of that. Never mind. Watch that video. I believe that would be video number, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, resilience. Oh, exercise then was number 4. So the sleep, I get 7 to 9. I usually get about 8. That's the sweet spot. But I set my day up that way, to be in bed, to read, because I need to kind of downshift. And so I read with a low light behind me, no bright lights, cooler room, a eye shade if I get up. And anyway, I'll put the shade on if I know I'm going to end up with some light coming into the room because I need to sleep maybe a half an hour later because I went to sleep a half an hour later. But I get that sleep in. And then stress management, that's where breathing comes in. And again, I did this explanation in my that video. Meditation, yoga nidra, breathing exercises. You must prioritize sleep and prioritize stress management, because you can't digest. Your body can't ease into healing modalities if you're on fight or flight. And fight or flight is when your adrenals are always pumping out cortisol because everything is stressing you. It will wreck your body. You won't be able to absorb the beautiful nutrients that you eat if you are whole food plant-based, or simply a careful eater, avoiding processed foods, avoiding sugar, avoiding saturated fat. That's helpful, but it doesn't work if you are stressed and your body is on fight or flight all the time. And you've been through periods like that. I have. I went through the death of my husband, and I was always tense, and my body couldn't relax. But ultimately, I even learned how to do it then. And then F. What is F? Fasting. I fast. I've done 5 5-day fasts. 3 of those were water only. 2 of those were what we call fasting mimicking diets, a term that you can read about in there. But what I do now daily is I stop eating after dinner, not another crumb, not a morsel, not a bite. at the end of dinner, and our goal is to be finished by 6:30. Doesn't always happen that way. We may meet our friends for dinner and they eat later, but finished with our meal by 6:30, no more food until breakfast. And in my case, breakfast 7:30 to 9. That's after exercise. I exercise fasted. It helps. Anyway, it helps eat up some visceral fat and all of that. And that is about a 14-hour window. If it's 8:30, it's about a 14-hour window. Walter Longo, who writes about longevity, he's a longevity expert international, talks about the value of fasting, of time-restricted feeding, and he says everybody can manage to not eat for 12 hours. 12 hours would mean I could finish dinner at 6:30, breakfast at 6:30, and that's 12 hours. You're sleeping most of that time anyway. You know what that would eliminate? That would eliminate this kind of grazing that a lot of people do, or the imperative, I'm sitting down watching a show, I must eat, as if I was in a theater and everyone around me was eating popcorn and I was the only one not. So we can get out of that mindset, and it can keep you healthier and certainly keep you leaner. You is unafraid, living unafraid. That was my decision when I decided that I was going into my last 30 years of life unafraid of the fact that the next day I could have dropped dead, but doing what I could to not focus on that, but focus on what matters to my health. And then, God willing, it plays out that way, but unafraid, knowing that if we are making the right decisions on a regular basis, we're setting ourselves up. And in the meantime, we're happier for it. We're not waiting for the next shoe to drop. L, the two L's are loving and living. When it comes to loving, watch my segment on the LL part, especially the what would that have been? I guess that would have been week number 9, where I talk about love 2.0. Really a wonderful concept to consider as it relates to love. It gives you, I'm going to say, the freedom and the understanding that love can be so much less exclusive than just loving our family, but loving people that we don't even know, that we meet for moments. If we see a certain value in the interaction, watch the video and then consider the book Love 2.0 by Barbara Fredrickson. And then laughing out of your way, go out of your way to find delight in things. Delight and laughter are very similar. I was up the mountain. This was magical. I wonder if I can get it and show you. I probably won't be able to show you this. Oh my gosh. It was magical. I don't know if you can see this. It barely, barely, barely. This is a man sitting on a rock up on the mountain. I don't know if you see what he has in his arms. Oh, it chokes me up to think about it. I walked by him. I stopped and I looked and I said, my gosh, that's a baby. That's a tiny baby. How old is it? It's a little boy born 4 days ago, and he had him cradled beautifully. He was feeding him. He said, my wife is asleep, and so I'm taking care of him. It was probably her milk in that bottle. He was there with his little dog, and it was such a beautiful scene. But to see a child that tiny, it fed me down to my soul. Love, laughter, just things that feed your soul, feed your body, make you that much more healthy, because you get all kinds of neurotransmitters just exploding, and that makes us live longer. And then finally, the last letter is U. Love 2.0 helped me expand what I saw as love. Laughing, I can go online and watch animals doing fun, lovely things. I can get laughter out of that. I can watch things on purpose to make me laugh. The U is you, Y-O-U, accepting, embracing embracing who and what you are. I do that. I had so much self-doubt through the decades with bulimia, and knowing in secret what I did that nobody ever guessed. And I could find myself hating myself. That's all gone, because I ended that 5 years ago. And so that I can't even relate to well anymore, which is just fine. But you know, most of us look around us, and maybe that's part of the problem with social media, and believe that everybody is what we're not, has what we don't, does what we can't. And it's really easy to get into the comparison thing instead of simply looking at who and what we are. Actually, Dr. McGeary said this beautifully, and then I'll stop. And that is, she said, every one of us in this world is a piece of a enormous jigsaw puzzle. And if you've ever done a jigsaw puzzle, you'll know that that piece won't fit anywhere else but where it belongs. We're a jigsaw puzzle. We are one piece that without our individuality, the puzzle would never be finished. And if we see it that way, wasn't that lovely? If we see it that way, then we can stop questioning why we're not this way or behave that way or aren't perfect. I am dyslexic. I am ADHD. And I just heard from somebody recently that people who are left-handed are also faulty. So I'm all three of those, a left-handed dyslexic with ADHD. So there's a lot of stuff I do in a really quirky way, and I can catch myself any time of the day screwing up big time. I can't count, I can't add, won't even go into all of that. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm a puzzle piece. Nobody can fill that hole the way I will be able to. Therefore, my mission. Ta-da! So that's all I have to say. That's the application of lifestyle modalities, that when we learn to embrace them, we give ourselves a longer, healthier, more joyful life. I'll be on next week, and we'll have another subject that will be related to lifestyle as medicine. We have 3 more weeks, and then that will be the PowerPoints. We may go on to 2.0 of PowerPoints, but that will be that session as I outlined it initially, coming to an end, because then I go to Europe for a couple of weeks. Okay, I hope you got something out of this. Thank you very much for joining me. Have a blessed day. Have a great day, because I know I'm going to. Bye-bye.